In fact, it's Sphinx.
Why would it be Sphinx when it's Mirage? Look at it.
Its name is Sphinx because it's not Mirage, but it's totally Mirage. You know what I mean?
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the A3 Review.
In this episode, fresh off the truck, we are going to take a look at Combiner Wars Victorion.
And then we know how much you guys love comparisons. We're going to be reviewing, or rather comparing, a couple of releases of Springers.
And we're going to take a look at the original Sphinx by Ocular Max compared to the new PS01A Sphinx.
It's a big episode, so you're going to want to watch this. My name's Alex.
I'm Boris.
You're watching
the
A3 Review. What we have right in front of us is Victorion from the Combiner Wars series, the latest in this awesome series that has been going on for so long.
That's right.
And I'm really excited about this because this is something new, but it also looks familiar.
Yeah, that's right. For the most part, it's a repaint of some other popular Combiner Wars characters that we do know. However, this is the first fan-based Combiner, and also it's the first female Combiner.
Yes.
So big deal, and it's literally fresh off the truck. We just got it in, so I couldn't wait to show it off. So here we have them in vehicle mode. That's kind of what they come in the box set.
So we got Pyra Magna, who is based off of Hot Shot.
That's right.
Right. We got Dust Up.
You
right?
got it.
Who's actually the Dead End from the Study Cons. We got
That's right.
Jump Stream, who is Breakdown.
That's right.
And then we got the Sky Burst.
Oh my God!
Is it Skyburst?
You got it. That's
Skyburst and Skyburst and okay.
I'll help you out. Storm Clash.
Who are Blades?
That's right.
Yeah.
Blades or Vortex's mold.
Yes.
With the exception of the arms, as one of the fans pointed out here, it doesn't have the rockets on it. But it's still kind of cool. It gives it this new kind of look to it. And then, of course, we have Rust Dust, which is the Groove.
That's right.
Repaint. But yeah, what are your first impressions? What do you think of this color?
First impressions is, of course, the paint job, and it is it's very interesting choice to me. Like I don't feel like it clashes, but I don't feel it blends. It just is its own thing.
When I first saw it, I immediately thought, like, when I saw it online, I immediately thought, like, of the G2 and the Clashing.
Yeah.
But this is actually not as bright. And the Clashing isn't as kind of like this Miami Vice kind of G2 era.
Like, at least this is a lighter shade of green.
Yeah, they kind of tried to make the harmony work a little bit more for it. It's kind of a muted, kind of this pastel thing. I guess it goes with the whole theme of the Rust. The Rust theme and the Torchbearers.
Okay,
is kind of what, if you guys are familiar with the fiction. Go online, just look up Victorion, and you'll see that it is a lot of fan-based materials. That's a theme with them. So honestly, when I first kind of looked at this, I thought the reds were not as sharp as I had hoped they would be. Yeah. They're not necessarily disappointing. They're kind of growing on me. Yeah. But I kind of felt they were going to be brighter.
Okay.
Yeah. This is not as saturated as some of the images that you see online.
Yeah. I'm actually quite surprised that Pyra Magna doesn't have any of that green on him, like, at all. It's just on the Victorion head sculpt, but it just feels quite plain.
Yeah, it's
not my favorite of the six.
It's definitely subtle. I'll reserve judgment till I see it in the bottle.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe the colors will come out.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, all you're really seeing is some strips of the kind of this turquoise green. Yeah. Not even really turquoise. It's almost like a very muted, kind of a green. Yeah. With slight blue in it, almost.
Well, just from first impressions, I'll tell you that. The ones that I like the most, and I gotta say the ones are these two.
The helicopters?
I just think it looks all right. It's definitely something that stands out in my opinion. Maybe it's because I like these wings. It kind of reminds me of one of my favorite 80s TV shows, Airwolf.
Yeah. Airwolf was the bomb.
Yeah.
I felt it was a little bit lazy just throwing out 2 helicopters.
Okay, that is lazy.
I mean, they have so many molds to repaint.
Yeah.
There is a difference between these two. Like, there's just kind of like this
it alternates,
ancient artifact kind of
the glyphs.
Cybertronian glyphs or whatever it is. And they're on different sides, so it's not like they just cheaped out or anything. And then also they made the new arms.
Yeah.
So I felt like it would have been cool to see maybe a variation, but you know what? This is what was fan built. This is what was called for. So, you know, and as the designer John Warden aptly said to me, he was like, you know, what's cooler than 2 helicopters? And, you know, helicopters are awesome. So we're gonna put 2 in, and I said, all right, well, that can't argue with that.
Well, there you go. How do you argue with that?
Can't argue with the designer.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, why don't we get it into bot mode and take a look at what the head sculpts look like?
So now we have them in their robot modes, and the first thing I notice is that the colors come out on Pyra Magna. Before he was all red in the vehicle mode, and now the green is revealed.
Yeah, it's looking good, and it does have a slightly different chest sculpt.
Oh yes, that's right. It's a little bit different, and I actually really like the top half of him. The bottom half is kind of plain, but everything else looks pretty good. Sorry, everything else on her looks pretty good. Like the chest sculpt and also the way the colors go. I'm really liking it. It looks sharp, and the head sculpt looks cool too. You can tell that is a female.
Yeah, this is a really great head sculpt, actually. I love all the detail. I love how feminine it is.
Yeah.
I wish the feet got a little bit of a different treatment, but, you know, this is the hotspot mold, and that's how it works.
Yeah.
Would have been nicer, you know, if there could have been some retooling maybe done on the vehicle mode, but, you know, whatever. It is what it is. It still looks good.
Yeah. And then we also have Dust Up. That's Dust. Yeah, Dust Up.
It's Dust Up.
And the first thing I notice is that there's too much red. I do like the head sculpt. This Nightbird. If you're a Nightbird fan, there's your Nightbird inspiration at least.
Yeah, it looks really good. One thing I do like about the 2 cars in general is the fact that it's actually painted pretty much all the way through.
Yeah.
There are some plastic parts that are left showing, but they're not as noticeable.
Yeah.
So this is painted. It does save it, even though it doesn't have the high contrast.
Yeah.
I think it looks fine.
And now check out Jump Stream, and the head sculpt once again stands out for me. Totally female head sculpt. You can really tell that they, you know, did their best to really make sure that it is a female. And of course, you see some RC inspiration there.
I was gonna say, it looks like a flattened RC face. It's not your run-of-the-mill. I thought that they would have some trouble making some really good differentiations, but they did a really great job with these first 3 here. Very, very different characters in all of them.
Yeah, I think what's very interesting is that even though they're using molds that existed before, with the right paint applications and a different head sculpt, it almost makes them feel like a totally different molds. I'll be bold to say it, but like they kind of look like different molds. They almost look unrecognizable, but you know where the mold came from, but still looks different enough that it really differentiates itself from the original character that it's molded from.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think so too. And then moving on, we have is it Stormclash?
Stormclash, and then something burst, Skyburst.
Skyburst.
Yeah,
that's right. And then, of course, Rust Dust. So, Stormclash and Skyburst, first of all, very similar head sculpts, but there are subtle differences, actually.
Really?
Next to it. Yeah. So, it's kind of in the side of the heads, so they didn't actually just cheap out.
Okay.
But, unfortunately, I think the result is they look still very similar.
Yeah.
But, having a visor, not having a visor does actually change it up quite a bit.
Yeah.
I would say without the visor, it looks more feminine. You can really see that long face.
Yeah.
And then on this one, the visor hides it a little bit, so it's a little bit more masculine. Probably the most masculine out of all of the ones, I would say, is that one there.
Actually, I think this one's the most masculine.
aside from Groove,
or
out of the deluxe,
yeah,
out of the main figures, that's I don't think they even changed.
Because the head sculpt is so small, there's only so much you can do. I mean, I guess maybe they could have put some red lipstick on, but other than that, there wasn't really much they could do to make it look that much different.
Yeah, and
because the head is like with the rest of the plastic, the surrounding parts. What I found was really great about these to make it look feminine is the sharp faces. It wasn't just about putting on the visor or making the eyes look a certain way. It's got these very sharp, narrow faces that gave it that feminine look. And I think they really did a good job with making Pyra Magna very feminine looking, especially with that, I guess you would say, eye makeup. Yeah, that ran across the eyes. That really makes it look, give it that feminine look. And I think all the head sculpts were done in a very decent way.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And, looking forward to seeing what it looks like in combined mode. But before we do that, really quickly, I just wanted to show just the weapons.
Oh, yes. We didn't forget about the weapons. It's just something that we got to show you right now.
That's kind of like a crossbow kind of thing. And then it can also be connected with, or this one, sorry, connects with this guy here. So I think it goes like something like this, basically.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right.
And that becomes
like an axe?
Kind of axe kind of deal.
Yeah.
And then you have the two kind of like
swords.
Feather swords, and there's actually some really good paint detail.
I like the detailing on sword. That gradient effect is really neat.
Yeah, it's quite nice. So they go with the
aerial bots,
the helicopters. Yeah. And then of course you have a shield.
That's pretty cool shield.
It's very nice. And so later we're gonna see all this combined into a larger weapon and the combiner. So let's get her into combiner mode.
Let's combine it. Now here is Victorion in her combined mode. And I'm going to have to say that I'm going to keep this displayed in combined mode. Because it looks good.
It does. The improved hands and feet over the rest of the Combiner Wars series is what I'm really liking. And the feet and the hands are actually very feminine. So it goes along with the Gestalt. It's a taste of what's also going to come for the rest of the Combiner feet and hands. Computron's supposed to have re-engineered feet and hands too.
Nice.
Yeah, and they're not going to try to reuse the same. Foot is weapon, is also hands. Depending on how you move the joints to pose it. Also, just looking at it, I think the sword really stands out to me.
Oh, the sword's fantastic. I love that, you combine all those other weapons and then when put together, it doesn't just look like a mishmash of parts. It actually looks like a cool sword for a combiner. So very cool.
A really big bonus, really good coloring. Really cool weapon.
For sure. Speaking of coloring, the colors actually don't bother me that much anymore. I mean, they didn't bother me that much before. I just thought they kind of was a weird choice. But now that I've seen it combined and all put together, it's not that bad. It's kind of growing on me.
This head sculpt.
Oh, the head sculpt.
Really, really wins it for me.
Yeah, it's just so different from what we're used to. A lot of the head sculpts we've seen in the combiners are just your typical, I don't know, we've seen that type of thing before. We've seen that face. This is something very, very extraordinary because it's got that female look and also it's just a new look for a combiner.
Yeah, look, it's just got a lot of character to it.
Yeah.
Too. Overall, just kind of looking at all the limbs and everything, because they chose this assortment, it does also in the body look quite different. I thought it would kind of remind me a little bit more of Defensor, but it's definitely not as blocky. And I think that's probably why they chose to do the two helicopters as the feet. Although you could probably just move them around if you really wanted to scramble it.
Oh, for sure.
But I think the slenderness there works really well and leads really nicely into these kind of like boot-shaped kind of feet. Yeah,
we've said a lot of good things about it. I do have to point out the one thing that does bug me though, and it's this weird looking groove thing that they've decided to do, just like the other combiners. But there's so many great things about it that I can look past it. It does look weird, but I'm sure some third-party company is going to come up with something for this.
Yeah, definitely. And it is kind of like on a practical level,
yeah,
falls off really easy and all
yeah,
that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
It's kind of odd.
Yeah.
But overall, I'd say this is a win for the Combiner Wars series. Yeah.
Let's give it a score and see what we really come up with for this.
Let's do that.
So for aesthetic, I'm gonna give it a 7. I like the way she looks, especially in the combined mode. The individual robot modes, they're really reminiscent of the original modes, and that doesn't do much for me, but still, this is the way you're supposed to display Victorion, so a lot of the points go towards the way it looks right here, so 7 for me.
Yeah, I give it an 8. I did like all of the individual head sculpts. I love the color scheme on most of them, and then in combined mode, it's definitely a win for me, so that's an 8.
For playability, I'm giving it a 7. It's a combiner, there's a lot you can do with it, but these are individual robots that we've seen before, so most of the time you're going to spend on this guy, in my opinion, is putting her in the combined mode, and that's a lot of fun. And then also posing her with a sword, making her look cool, that adds to some playability, so 7 for me.
I'm gonna give it an 8 for playability. It's a combiner, so combiners for me always extends the playability of the actual figure. Now, being that it is the same mold, I have the same consensus with Alex. I've been through these, so the playability wasn't as much there, because I've already used up all the residual, but the sword definitely saved it because, something new to put together, really kind of cool.
For innovation, I'm giving her a 7. This is a combiner with parts that we've seen before. Not quite innovative in that department, but the fact that they decided to make it a female transformer, and not just a female transformer, but a combiner, and actually make it look female, that is quite innovative. And I think the fans really, they did a good job in putting something like this together. There's a lot of creativity that went into putting this together, and with all these little parts, like the proportions and the feet and the head sculpts, they really made this combiner look female. So that's really innovative, giving it a 7.
I'm gonna give it a 7 too. I echo everything that Alex is saying. Unfortunately, it was just a repaint, nothing crazy done with the mold, so not too much innovation that you would expect there. However, being the female, I think that is very innovative to have to try to make everything still look feminine and put it together in the right combination.
My overall score is a 7.
My overall score is a 7.67.
Very close scores, quite high scores as a matter of fact, and I think that if you are a Combiner Wars fan, definitely must have.
It is, and it's first of its kind. First female combiner, first female team. So hats off to Hasbro for this one.
Yep, hats off to the fans for coming up with this, and get it while supplies last.
Yep.
That is our review of the Combiner Wars Victorion. Thank you very much. So now we're doing comparisons, and we're doing comparisons for something that you might be quite familiar with.
This is an oldie but goodie. Most people already have this mold. When it first came out, I thought it was a brilliant mold. It has great head sculpt, great transformation, and Hasbro's version of the Springer, I actually was super happy with. It had a lot of great bright saturated colors, saturated yellow, saturated green. It was supposed to mimic closer to I believe the toy version of Springer.
Yep.
And then the Takara version came out a little bit after the Takara Generations, and I actually never really grew fond of this mold. They tried to do the same scheme as the toy, but had a lot of the animated, too inaccurate colors. However, the pale yellows and the pale greens didn't really work for me. I don't know, did they work for you?
It just didn't feel like it was strong enough compared to this one. This one just really stood out to me.
Yeah, same. And as a result of that, a lot of people glazed over it and just kept their Hasbro version.
Yeah.
Now we have the completely anime accurate colors that Hasbro tried to do. They even have some comparison shots to what it looked like in the cartoon. You know, I was wondering, why did they decide to come out with yet another Springer in Legends?
Yeah.
I wish they skipped this.
Yeah.
After seeing this, I wish they skipped this.
Just jump right
and
to
they
this.
jumped right to this.
Yeah.
Because now, you know, if you're already vested in 2 of these, I don't know if you're going to want to buy a 3rd one.
Yeah.
If you're stuck with maybe just the Hasbro one, then it's probably worth it to get this one. There's a big enough difference. Or if you never got it at all, skip these 2, get this one. I'll tell you why. The reason why is actually it's very subtle. Like all these like monotone greens actually work really, really well together. They're not as contrasted as this here, but my God, the green is like, I can't even describe it. It's so much more brilliant than both greens here.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not even about its brightness. It's the hue that it has.
Love these colors, but this brings Springer to like a whole other level. I love, like you said before, the greens, and it's just not any green, but it's very vibrant green combined with these dark greens here, this lighter green, and then the gray just blends so well, and it just makes him feel like a whole new release of the figure. I mean, like buying it twice if you already have this one feels justified.
Yeah, I think so too. And like even his face, they've introduced the green there, but it's slightly more yellow. And they've done a lot of work with working with greens on this, and then making these these tires kind of like this kind of grayish. Really matches really well as well, and also. Giving some contrast in the weapons, like you pointed out in the forearms, having that slightly different, darker green. The little painted detail on his feet as well. And then also, if you really look closely, Alex, this is kind of like the in-between coloring of these 2 here.
Oh, yes.
So it feels like they put a little bit of metallic in it to bring it out as well. So it's a good medium between the 2. So I definitely feel like, as a comparison, this is the winner.
This is the winner. I'm going to have to agree with that.
So, you know, let us know what your thoughts are. I'm not going to bother changing it into the 3 vehicles right now. For me, the bot mode is what I'm focused on.
The bot mode just looks so good.
It looks really, really good.
Both as a mold and in paint job.
Yeah, that's right. And then along with how it's done more monotone here, you can imagine the plain mode is going to be very much similar. There's not as much contrast as these ones, but still just the vibrant green really brings it out.
All right, cool. That's our comparison with all these different Springers. Do we got time for another comparison?
Yeah, we do. That's why I wanted to move on quickly and just look at another comparison.
Sure. So now we're doing another comparison. Now, Boris, you're going to have to explain this comparison to me because it looks like 2 identical products, but with different boxes.
So just a disclaimer first. We meant to transform this into robot mode, but of course, I end up with the one with the QC issue where I can't even transform it into bot mode. So I can't do that for you. However, I'm going to go through the main differences, which is what everybody's been wondering. You guys, there might have been photos out there already that you've seen, but if you haven't, you're watching this channel first, I'm going to go through the color differences because that's the main thing that's different here. The mold itself is different. A lot of the QC issues actually were fixed in this one. Just some loose joints and all that kind of stuff.
All right.
But otherwise, same exact mold, same exact decaling, but the color is lighter. So I'll explain that, and I'll look at a couple other things that are different. Now, first off, you mentioned the boxes. So they do come in different boxes. One is this window box, shows the car in it, and that's for the new coloring.
Okay.
The PS01A.
All right.
And the original PS01 Sphinx comes in this nice, compact, cool, artsy-fartsy box. Which
I like the artwork on the box.
I know. I personally prefer this version, actually. I'm not to say the window one doesn't look good, just love the artwork. So that really, really stands out to me. So that's one big difference. Another big difference is if you bought the first version, you got this cool little parachute that goes along with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and everyone knows what that is.
Yeah.
It's an homage to a certain episode where he flies down with this parachute. He also comes with a different face sculpt.
Oh, does he?
Yes, he comes with another sculpt that, when you put it together, it looks like the toy version of Mirage. Remember the toy version of the Mirage looked really weird and didn't.
Yeah, it was a little bit off.
It totally didn't look like the animated.
Yeah.
It looked like some sort of a toy robot face.
Yeah.
And that's the secondary face it comes with, so it can match the toy better. And that takes me to the coloring. The first version, and you can see it now, right?
Yeah.
It's much darker than this one.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they had reservations about the lighter version versus the darker version. Now, I personally have an affinity to the toy, so I do love the blue versions. Dark blue version. But the light blue version actually looks really good too. And if you look at the colors in the Studio Ox artwork, which this design is based off of, it's actually very, very close in the lightness of the blue.
Yeah.
So this definitely is more cartoon accurate. And it also comes with a secondary face sculpt.
Okay.
But not the robot face sculpt. Comes with another animated face sculpt, which is smiling, which is the one that I have here.
Oh, cool.
And it actually gives it kind of some expression. I know a lot of people hate it. I don't. I think it looks cool. And then secondly, the color scheme of the silver. You'll notice the silvers here are a lot sharper. They're this metallic, whereas this is a lot more flat. You notice that, Alex?
Yep.
It's like a flat silver.
Yeah.
It still has some sort of metallic in it, but it's very muted. And you can tell right away when you look at the sheen of the original gun versus that gun. And all the grays are like that.
It doesn't glimmer as much compared to this one.
Yeah, that's right. Chrome's the same, though. Everywhere that there's chrome on here. But the silvers are different. And that's pretty much the biggest differences, Alex.
Well, I'll tell you one thing is that now that I'm looking at it closer, I actually kind of like the blue. It's very vibrant, and it goes so well with this white. It just makes the blue stand out, and you know what? It's basically a brighter version of the same toy. So
yeah, and a lot of people actually do like the lighter blue version after they've seen it.
Yeah.
So if you were on the fence, you didn't want to get the darker one, you waited for the lighter one, I'd say it's a go. It is really nice.
It is.
If you do have the darker blue one and you had wished that it wasn't so dark blue like some people, here's the perfect time to trade up. But for me, personally, I like both versions. I think they both have their kind of character to it. If you're more of the toy fan, though, I'd say if you can even find the first version, get it. But honestly, the second version, not a far step away from it.
Yeah.
It looks really great. So if you missed out, still pick up the the Toon version.
Yeah.
And I think you'll be really happy.
Yeah, I think ultimately this is a great product as a whole. Great mold, great robot design, great vehicle design, and no matter what kind of blue you decide to put it in, like whether it be this light one or a dark one, it still looks good.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Pick up whichever one you like. At the end of the day, it's up to you, but you are going to get a great product.
Agreed.
And that is our comparison of the PSO1 Sphinx Espionage from the Perfection series. And that's our episode for today. We hope you enjoyed it.
Stay tuned next time when we take a look at MP30 Ratchet, and then we'll also compare it to MP27 Ironhide and show you how to do a quick shoulder alignment.
Cool. I'm looking forward to that episode. As always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like us on Aegis3andUp, and also follow us on Twitter at Aegis3andUp. We also got Instagram. You can follow us at Aegis3andUp, and we will see you next time. Peace.
See you next time.